Hey everybody, Evan Altman back here with you on another edition of Inside Corner. My little video log. I think I did one Thursday, and it's only Sunday. I didn't anticipate doing these maybe it was Friday. Anyway, I had really only anticipated doing maybe one a week, but had some interesting things come up over the last day, and figured I'd jump on here and share. Probably a little bit shorter, but I'm learning a few things about this, and we'll kind of learn together as we go. One of those things is that I'm actually going to be a little bit smarter about the beer I share with you, and let you know a little bit more about it. So what we have today is Cafe Death from Revolution Brewing in Chicago. It's out of their Deepwood series. This is a barrel aged. I think I have even a description here. A weaponized quantity of freshly roasted whole bean coffee from independent Chicago roasters imbues our Death's Tar barrel-aged imperial stout with assertive coffee aromatics without overshadowing the base beer on the palate. Pair with rich food, or, as I will do, enjoy on its own. Keep cold, enjoy now. We mean it. So I'm going to enjoy it. I'm sorry you can't enjoy it with me. I might actually show you guys. Oh, that smells good. What I should do is, maybe I'll take it again and show you some of the, well, I would, except this whole thing looks like such crap. Next time I clean it up, maybe I'll show you the barrel-aged stuff that I've got. I actually, before I get into any of the other stuff, so I'm generally a big IPA guy. Pales, IPAs, really, really dig the West Coast, like the hazy, and I don't mean, like, a lot of this crap that's kind of, I shouldn't say West Coast, I mean East Coast, the New England style. West Coast is good, the fruity floral, I dig that. But the New England style, man, I can't get enough of. But it bothers me when I see some of these that call themselves juicy or hazy, and they're like super clean. Like, I want it to look like orange juice, straight up. I mean, if given a side-by-side comparison, I don't want you to know that easily one of those is beer, one of them's OJ. Which actually brings me to another one in that I've been told that just for health reasons, much better to drink apple juice because OJ, well, anyway. Yeah, so that was terrible. I used to actually have a shirt in my younger days that had a white Bronco on it, and it said, "Drink more apple juice because OJ will kill you." And God, that's kind of embarrassing, isn't it? The dumb shit we do when we're younger. But so anyway, dial it back, and we'll step back to beer. So despite really being a fan, and it's like really cool out. I'm down in my basement. It's like actually really cold down here. I barely even wear this t-shirt, and I got to get to that. But I'm not going off on a tangent. I'm going to stick with beer, and then I'm coming back to this. So I love to stop at Three Floyds up there in Munster on my way up to Chicago frequently, and so I used to like pick up cases of Zombie Dust and Gumball Head, but they produce that stuff enough now that you can get it more cheaply, right, if you get it there and you buy a case at a time. But they've had, and man, some of the best, maybe the best beer I've ever had in my life was their Rue de Floyd, which they brewed with the brewery, which I think is that out of, or brewery, B-R-U-E-R-Y, and it was this barrel-aged imperial stout, but it was like aged over cocoa nibs and had a vanilla bean extract in there, or vanilla, or fresh vanilla beans, and like some cherry. I mean, it was the depth of flavor in this was just, I mean, it was incredible. And they were like $40 a bottle. You had a limit of 2, so I went up one time, I got 2. I went another time, I got 2. So I ended up having like 4 of them total. And like beer is one of those things that I will spend on, right? And so I had gone up there, and they had several. They had Pillar of Beasts. They had Blot Out the Sun, multiple different versions. I think what's the other one they had? Gosh, I can't remember, but I think there were like 3 different ones, and these are like $30 a bottle, right? So I'm not like trying to be all braggadocious about my my spending, but I am a very popular, famous blogger, and so really the choice at the time, and this was in December. So the choice at the time was, well, do we make the next lease payment on the Gulfstream jet that we were using as a blog to fly all over the country, or do I buy more beer? And so of course I said, you know, I can fly commercial for another month. I want to go with the beer instead. And so I did, because I can do those things because I'm a grown ass man, damn it. But this had come after, so I don't know how much I dropped there, but I got a couple of their other IPAs, and I think I got like 6 or 8 bottles, 6 maybe, of this stuff. And I still have, I'm going to maybe go out of frame, but I apologize. 1, 2, 3 of them, 5 of them. So I got 5 bottles of those. I've got, how many bottles of, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 bottles of Canadian Breakfast Stout. I think maybe 4 of which are this year's version, which they produced like just a crap load of. So the previous year, I don't know if anybody remembers this, and I'll get to an actual story, but I kind of like the beer stuff, and so I apologize for those of you who aren't beer heads who are having to like sit across these intermittent stories as I just hop like randomly from one to the next. But it was 2 years ago, right? So it would have been the 2017 release. Was like the first time in years that they had released it, right? This Founders Brewing, and you had to like be there and get a lottery if you wanted to get up front. And then they were doing this whole thing. I never saw it down here in Indianapolis, but I know friends in Chicago were looking for it everywhere. You go to the liquor store, they're going to have like 5 bottles, and you get a lottery ticket, and if they pulled you, you'd have the opportunity to go buy it, right? It's like 26, 27 bucks. And so, you know, I can't remember when that got released, maybe around October, November 17, something like that. So here it is, it's like February or March of 18, and I go into my little liquor store around the corner here, and I look on the shelf, and I see, I'm like, you know, like seriously, I'm looking around like it's candid camera, and there are 6 bottles of CBS, Canadian Breakfast Stout, on the shelf. Not behind the counter, no sign with a limit, nothing. So I grab a couple of them, and I'm holding, I have like 3 of them, and I'm like holding them and walking around like thinking, right, like somebody's going to come up and punk me, or there's something wrong here. I'm scared I'm going to go up to the counter and put them down there, but actually you can only buy 1. So I end up, so I set them down. I'm like, is there a limit on these at all? I can't believe you even have them. They're like, yeah, this is weird. And I'm like, I don't know why they did. So anyway, I bought 4 of them, and I moved 2 of them behind a row of 3 Floyd stuff, and texted a buddy. He was like, hey, they got CBS here if you want to get any. And so he didn't, and I think this was on a Friday. And so I went back the following day, or maybe it was Thursday, and I went back Friday. Either way, I went back. The other 2 were still there, so I bought those. So I had those 6. And so then the next year, I go and I see it on the shelf there again. I'm like, holy crap, what is my luck? This is amazing. So I bought a couple bottles. And then my dumbass goes over to Kroger to do some grocery shopping. And there on an end cap is like a whole flipping 4 rows of stupid CBS for $5 less than I had just paid for it. So anyway, lesson learned, right? Check that stuff out. So one other story about finding beer, and then I will get into my other story. And then actually there's another Cubs specific thing that I want to talk, which, speaking of, somebody was joking on the other one. They commented like you had to do a drink every time I said dope. So this is a pretty dope ass glass right here. I actually got these from my grandparents. So I don't know how old these are, but you can actually, I know you can't see it in the video, but there are seams that are in here that just, you know, obviously have worn off over time. But I know my grandparents had these for, I mean, since these are older than me, I'll be 40 this year, so these 50, 60 years old, I don't know. But my brother and I would always, I drank, I don't know how many Pepsis I drank out of these at my grandparents' house. And so when we moved, and I don't think it was this house, I think it was our old house. When we moved there, they gave these to us, or to me, I don't think my wife could, as a housewarming gift. And it was like, that was, to me, one of the coolest things, because I have such memories of just not even during a Cubs game, but just like iced tea and lemonade and Pepsi, and just we would always drink out of these glasses. And so they don't hold the beer as easily. I mean, it's 12 ounce, but it's just, I mean, it's so awesome, and they're clearly very well made. And I don't know how many other glasses I've broken in the meantime, but these are no joke, man. These are awesome. So anyway, last beer story, because it relates to this this Cafe Death, right? And we all know Goose Island, the Bourbon County Stout, big deal, huge deal in Chicago, right? And they always have their release on Black Friday. of their different varietals, and you know, they have the main one that they have just an ass load of, and then they have the different versions of them, which are a little bit more expensive. They had like vanilla and orange, midnight orange, and there's like the special reserve and stuff like that. So they have different ones, right? And so you have to get in line at the big binnies there. It's like 1,000 people in line, right? Like at Lord knows what time, Thursday night or during the day of Thanksgiving, and you know, you can get a ticket. I don't know how many you can buy, 1 or 2 at a time. And so I'm like, man, it'd be awesome because, you know, again, Goose Island sold out. It's an Anheuser-Busch deal, but it's still good-ass beer. Like, I really, really like Bourbon County Stout. I mean, that was like the first, that was, you know, Josh Noel's book, Bourbon County Stout and or Bourbon Barrel Stout, Barrel-Aged Stout and selling out. Eventually I'll get it, right? It's about how Goose Island sold out. Fantastic stuff. It's super cool about the actual process of it. And I don't mean, like, not only how they made the beer and how they thought it was a mistake at first and got into it, but then the actual chemical process of the barrel aging. And they were the first to do it. Now it's like everybody's doing it. You know, you can buy, there's a rum runner that Founders does, right? The CBS that's a rum barrel aged beer that is ass. I choked down one of them, and I've got 3 of them sitting out in my fridge somewhere. So if you like that, let me know. One of the 4, the chances are really slim that one of the 5 of you, it was 4, now it's 5. I'm going to up that every time. Will actually like that shit. But if you do, I will give it to you. Actually, you can come here, we'll party. You come here, you buy me some good beer, I'll trade that out to you. Speaking of, you are all cordially invited to my 40th birthday party, which will be around the corner from where I live here at Rush Off Main, right in downtown Brownsburg, Indiana. So if you have occasion to be here, which you don't, on June 2nd, I will be back. I will have just returned from seeing the Wu-Tang Clan play the Aragon Ballroom, and then I'm going to have my party. So anyway, but I do plan, it's about 2 to 5 we're going to be there, right? Time to eat, watch the Cubs game. Cubs are playing the Cardinals at that time. And then whoever's around is more than welcome to retire back to my home for the consumption of barrel-aged beer. So, gosh, what a tangent we're on. Right, 2 paths diverged into Yellowwood, and I took the one less traveled and then tried to round back to where I was. And so it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, right? So I'm like, man, I missed out on all the Bourbon County Stout. And so I go in, there's a liquor store, the Cork Liquors in Columbus, Indiana. My sister and brother-in-law live right around the corner from their house. Fantastic liquor store. If you're driving either north or south on I-65, stop in Columbus on the Highway 46 exit, head west, like half a mile, quarter mile. Right there, the Cork. Fantastic selection. And so I go in there Saturday morning, and I'm like, kind of, yeah, maybe they got some of this stuff. And lo and behold, right past the front counter, here are stacks of Bourbon County Stout, the standard version, and the Midnight Orange version. So they only had the one varietal, but they were there. And I grabbed one of each, and I put them up there. I'm like, hey, you don't have any limits on these, do you? And the guy's like, I don't even know what those are, man. So I grab another couple. So I grab like 2 orange. I grab 2 of the regular. And then I look over, and Rev has their stuff, Revolution. Right, so they had Cafe Death, they had Code Switch, they had Death's Tar, and so it's Death's, D-E-T''S, D-E-T-H''S, Death's Tar, right? So then it's Death Star, right? Star Wars, but it's not canon, so J.J. Abrams cannot use it in Episode 9. Anyway, so I got some of that stuff, and I don't know, again, I don't know how much, a couple $100, something like that. And then my brother-in-law and I proceeded to like get just absolutely wasted on that stuff. The Code Switch is awesome because it's like blackberry. So it's super rich. And the fruit flavor that's in there is really like, it sounds kind of weird to say like a blackberry, but blackberry, you know, you think about them, they're not very, very, very big, but they're really nice, robust, especially when you add them in there with that bourbon flavor. So you got like a boozy berry kind of a thing there that works really, really well. Same thing with the Midnight Orange. And actually, I think, do I still have a Midnight Orange? I might not. I know I have. Oh, no, I do. Look at that. And a vanilla. Hold on, I'll be back. Oh, look at that. There's an orange. Whoop. There's vanilla. And I've got 3 left of just the standard version. Which, here we go. Next part of the story. And then I'm going to move on. I promise this won't all be about beer. Yet again at Kroger, right? So I go in there, and it's wonderful to take advantage of the fact that people don't know what they're selling. And so they had 3 cases of the BCS Bourbon County Stout, right, sitting on an end cap. And I'm looking at them like, dude, one of these, I'm just going to see if they'll let me buy this whole case. Because they were selling it for $10 a bottle. It was $9.99, which is like way cheaper than I've ever seen it anywhere else. And the thing is, so they're supposed to be sold as individual bottles. There's not a SKU for the case. But it rings up as wine. And if you buy 4 bottles of wine or more, they give you 15% off. So a case has, I think the cases of these have 12. And so I got it's actually the box is sitting right there. And in my first video, this tripod was propped up on that Bourbon County box. So I go in there and I'd seen it earlier, but it wasn't noon yet. So I came back around at noon, bought the case. So they had to ring them up all individually, and they gave me 15% off all of them. So it was only $8.50 a bottle for that. So I had a whole case. So anyway, that's just finding random stuff. So you never know. It's kind of like treasure hunting for my beer. So anyway, the story I was going to get to, and it's probably anticlimactic at this point because that was like the most, I'm sure the most phenomenal journey you've ever been on of a Cubs blogger talking about beer, which if you've been on more than one, something is very wrong with you. Anyway, so this is Saturday morning, getting ready for my son's Little League game. I might even talk about that game here in just a moment. But getting ready for the game, and, you know, there's a lot of talk that was going on about the Ozzie Albies contract extension, right? He signed for, was it 7 years and $35 million with 2 options, and the $35 million guarantee includes the $4 million buyout on the first of 2 options at the end of it. So at its maximum, 9 years, $45 million. We're talking about a dude who had like 5 WAR last year, 4 or 5, all-star, 22 years old. He is signed away basically the entirety of his 20s, right? Even if he only is on the short end of this. At the most, it's a 9-year deal at $5 million a season for a dude who easily would have gotten at least $5 million his first year of arbitration, and probably going up after that, because you're talking about a second baseman with a lot of power and speed, and if he played against the Cubs every game, he'd have like 85 home runs a year. So it's a really crappy contract. I mean, it's terrible. We've seen a bunch of extensions. This maxes out at like $30 million less than Eloy Jimenez, who had never played in Major League Baseball, right? This kid's an all-star. We've seen what he can do. It's insane. And so I had tweeted, you know, I was like, man, that agent should be disbarred. That's terrible. I was looking it up. Lo and behold, same agent who represents Craig Kimbrell, who's like on the opposite end of the scale. So like Albies got cheated because it was too cheap. Kimbrell on the other end isn't signed because he's not going to get anything because he wants too much. So I text this agent that I know, and I said, hey, just one word to describe the Albies contract, because I just wanted to get the feedback from him. And so he says, you know, frustrating. But then he goes on and describes it further, and he talks about the bullshit narrative that is out there about small agencies just jumping on extensions just to lock in their own commission. Because you figure, hey, you know, you sign for $20 million bucks and 5% commission, that's $1 million for that agent. That's a big deal if you're a small agency, right? So they're trying to jump on some of these things. And so there was some stuff, and he had mentioned an article that Jeff Passan from ESPN had written that mentioned that same thing. Now, Passan's article did say that there are bad agents in big agencies as well, but this agent that I talked with who's part of a smaller agency, right, is fearful that in general, while that could happen with any agent, the idea that it's more prevalent or more likely to happen with a smaller agency could really cast doubt on them. And so, you know, I had tweeted a few of these thoughts, and I was writing a post, but I was tweeting some things, and I tagged Passan in it to link to his article. Not to like throw him out, but just to provide context to what I tweeted. Well, here we go. A few hours later, all of a sudden he's replying, and kind of angrily, right? And it's like, it was almost as if he was angry at me. And I'm like, dude, I'm just telling you what the guy said. I'm quoting someone. Right, the same way, it's like I can't get mad at Jeff Passan if someone tells him something that sounds dumb or that he thinks sounds dumb. I'm not saying what the agent said was dumb, but, you know, again, it's Twitter. The entire context can't be in there. And in the post that I had written that I had not published yet, so Passan, like, quotes from his own piece and takes a screenshot of his own article and highlights a portion of it. I'm like, dude, I have that exact same passage in my post. I referenced it. I said what you said. And so the funny, he was like, I'll DM you my number, have the agent call me. And what's funny is like, come on, dude, he knows all these people. These guys know each other. And I'm texting the agent back like, dude, Passan's pissed off. He's like, about what? And so anyway, I think they settled it, figured it out. But I just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, hey, Jeff Passan recognized who no, he didn't recognize who I was, but he replied to me, which I just thought was hilarious. I'm like, dude, it's not me, right? Somebody told me this. So anyway, oh yeah, I should point this out. You've probably seen this awesome shirt already, the Own It Now, right? So those of you who are fans of 90s wrestling, WCW, remember NWO, right? The New World Order, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff and all those guys when they were running it. And so, when Joe Madden came up with his little phrase for this year for the Cubs, Own It Now, we try to play off that. So this is available on the back. It's got like a graffiti style print. It says CI for life, Cubs Insider, right? Because they had Wolfpack for life, NWO for life. Anyway, that was like in my wrestling heyday. So I think they run like $20, $25, something like that. And we get rich from that. So go out and buy like 5 or 10, give them to your friends, share them as Christmas gifts, whatever, wash the car with them. I don't care because, again, as I mentioned the first time, my goal is to get rich. And the only way I can do that is on the backs of people like you. And that's how it's got to be. So go out and spend some money on those things. And anyway, hold on. Look at that. I haven't even had any of this yet because I keep yammering. So funny thing about my son's game, right? So I had what was it, the Thursday Cubs game? Right when, or was it Friday? No, it wasn't Friday. Hold on. I'll get there. It was Friday. Right? Gosh darn it. Oh, well, my brain doesn't work. It was a game that they played. No, it was Thursday. It was against the Pirates. Okay, here we go. The Milkman, Melky Cabrera. Chris Bryant laces a shot, 102 miles an hour. Oppo, right, going down in the right field well. And Melky Cabrera, who's like 85 years old and supposedly no longer taking steroids, dives and snow cones it and falls over. He's almost hurt from it and barely holds on. Bryant easily would have had a triple, right? And he's been struggling. We all know that. And so you're like, gosh, you got to be kidding me, right? You drive one Oppo like that, just put a charge in it, and some dude reaches out and snags it. And so the next day I texted Bryant's dad, Mike, and we, got to know him through this thing. And so I was like, oh, man, what a tough break. It felt like he needed that, kind of get off the schneid, whatever. And so we just kind of commiserated over that. The next freaking day, 2 days later, Saturday, right? I said my son was getting his pictures for Little League, or that's what we're getting ready for. So he gets in there the game. My son's, he switch hits, but he's batting lefty against a righty. And we've been working on some things. The first game sucked, and he was just really upset with himself. And he was striding open, so we worked on getting a shorter stride and getting some things. And so first pitch this kid throws is, I don't know if he intentionally threw a changeup, but that's what it amounted to be. And Ryan is like way out in front of it. I mean, he's just like, ugh. And a couple balls, fouls the next one off, so it's like a 2-2 or maybe a full count. And so the kid kind of floats another one, and he's about to be out in front of it. He stepped a little early, and he held back and just pounded one. I mean, beat the dog shit out of it, right down to third. And the third baseman sticks his glove up. Well, it would have been this one. I mean, this is easily a double. And so, I mean, I've got the video. I'm looking at stills. I'm like, oh, my gosh. Strong through the front leg, turned. He had the bat even, elbow to rib cage coming through. He finished a little bit low, but just beat the ball. And it's right into the kid's. I mean, didn't even have to move. Just boom, atom ball. Next time up, first pitch. Bam, pounds one to shortstop. Boom. Kid, again, not even a step. Just boom, right there. And Ryan comes out to play. I think there was a third out. Maybe say he is pissed. I mean, just because he's like, what do I got to do? So it's like, man, this just isn't going to work anyway. And so then it was later that same day that all this stuff happened with the weird stuff with Passan and all that. So it was just kind of an odd Saturday all around. So what's funny is I just spent I don't even know if my phone's still running. It might have probably died, and I'm I've gone too far because of the beer stuff. So anyway, glad you're here. Again, I've mentioned this a few times, but if you could, mash that subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got, this is a show that I'm probably going to be doing a couple times a week. Maybe I'll eventually do some like through Google Hangouts and get some friends on here and kind of do some things back and forth. But we have, we've got the Talking Cubs webcast that's on here as well. We've got the podcasts that are on there. So Cubs Related, which I was just on prior to this, that'll be on here. So we have that available through the YouTube channel. We've got Danny Rocket's San Ranto podcast. We've got Ivy Envy. So there's a bunch of stuff here that we're really trying to bring to you, in addition to all the video clips and things like that that are on there. But we're really trying to bring some of this original content. And this is, again, this is just a way for me to kind of get shit off my chest that normally I wouldn't. And I'm working a little more blue tonight. And so, if that's something, hey, by all means, give me that feedback. Like, hey, man, you need to tone it down or whatever. But I don't do that in my writing, and I tend to avoid it on Twitter. So this is kind of like me more just hanging out with you and having a beer. So I just want to keep it loose like that, and ideally not go, maybe not curse too much, but anyway, want to have fun with it. So thanks again for joining me here, and like I said, please subscribe, tell some friends if it's something that maybe you found some enjoyment out of, and maybe you just want to like get drunk and make fun of me. I don't care, because I'm getting rich from it. Actually, I don't know. I'm going to check it. I think I made like 5 cents off the last one. So like if I make 5 of these, if I make one of these a week and I keep making 5 cents off them, just think about how rich I might be in like 50 years. That stuff's compounding, right? So I joke about that, but this isn't, obviously it's not about making a ton of money. I just finished my taxes today, so it's clearly not making a ton of money. In fact, I got to keep cutting checks to Uncle Sam for a while, bastard. So anyway, thanks for coming on and checking this out and being here and indulging me in this. And I'm going to indulge myself in this beer for the rest of the time. And again, cheers, and we'll see you the next time.